Hello everyone and welcome inside a brand new segment of Education Matters. My name is Donna Moore Westby, your host of Education Matters, where we're connecting you to the world of education one step at a time. Today will again be a paper and pencil day. Make sure you're prepared for today's topic because in the studio with me is the principal of Wagner-Salley High School, Mr. Pat Keating, and today he'll help guide us through the conversation of standardized exams that our young people are having to take. Coming up very soon will be the HSAP exam, the High School Assessment Program exam, where all high school students will take, and they must take in order to receive a high school diploma in South Carolina. We'll also talk about the end of course exams, and then we'll explore how this district utilizes the MAP data, measures of academic progress, to help drive our instruction so that every child has an opportunity to succeed in this district. So that's what we'll be talking about today, all right? Make sure you stay tuned during the entire broadcast. Of course, we'd like to thank the sponsors of Education Matters, and they are the Martial Arts Academy under the direction of Mr. Andrew Blocker. I'm sure my guest here today knows about that particular intervention. Also, the Barner Group Educational Associates, providing a variety of educational services to our families. Will Lou Gray Opportunity School out of West Columbia, saving the lives of our young people in South Carolina every day. Westby's Products and Services, my husband, Don Westby, creator of that wonderful seasoning, Don Seasoning Delight. All-purpose seasoning and marinade. And then finally, Bryant Insurance Agency. They are affiliated with Allstate. Miss Takia Dorn and her father, John Bryant. Thanks to all of you for supporting Education Matters. Please, ma'am, please, sir, go out and support those who support Education Matters, all right? Okay, got a couple of announcements for you before we get into our tip of the week and our word of the week. As a reminder, okay, the registration deadline for the May 5th SAT is Friday, April the 6th. Now, I'm telling you that now because we know that is during spring break week, and you're going to be in relaxation mode, and by the time you're finished watching the Masters, then you're going to remember, oh my God, I forgot to register for the SAT. If you are a student with aspirations of going to college and you want to get that opportunity, that final opportunity or next to the final opportunity to take that SAT exam on May the 5th, make sure you register by Friday, April the 6th to avoid any late registration fees, all right? That is your reminder for this week. All right, it is now time for the Education Matters Tip of the Week. Every week we do provide you with a brand new tip, and this one is very personal to me. Of course, if you've been watching, you know that I have a student athlete who's a senior in high school, and we're getting ready for a very special day, and it is called Signing Day. So here is this week's tip. For several sports such as baseball and basketball, the initial 2012 National Letter of Intent Signing Day is April 11th, okay? Before a college-bound student athlete signs this agreement, the student athlete must understand, I do have a typo there, the requirements of the binding agreement. Parents, you be a part of that process. Make sure you read every word in that document. Make sure your child or your grandchild understands the agreements, the requirements as a part of that agreement, all right? And then make it a very special day for family and friends. April 11th, National Signing Day. Make sure you read those documents, all right? That is this week's Education Matters Tip of the Week. All right, it's not back to school time, but that sound means it's Word of the Week time. inside of Education Matters. I just love that bell because it gets everybody's attention, and Miss Cindy always has a smile when I ring that bell. But this week's word of the week is brand new to me. I've never seen this word before. I found it in a book of words to prepare young people for the SAT, and it is blandish. Blandish. B-L-A-N-D-I-S-H, and it is a verb, and it means to coax or persuade with flattery, okay? Here's this week's sentence. Never try to blandish your way out of a test with Mr. Griffin because he will not fall for the scheme, all right? Feel free to even make it past tense by adding ed, blandished, all right? Study the different forms of the word, but that is this week's word of the week, okay? Make sure you check out my website, edmat.com, for a running list of my tip of the week and word of the week, okay? After a few words from our wonderful sponsors, we'll come back and talk about standardized exams, why we need them, and how to prepare for them. We'll be right back.
Tired of hearing automated answering services when you have questions about auto, home, renters, motorcycle, or life insurance? Call the Bryant Insurance Agency, where you will always receive a representative ready to answer your questions and provide friendly customer service just for you. Call today for a quick quote at 803-642-8505 or visit us at 909 Daughtery Road in Aiken. Takia and her staff are ready to serve you.
The Will Lou Gray Opportunity School has been serving the beautiful Midlands of South Carolina since 1921. Our mission has evolved over the years, and we now specialize in helping young people move past their obstacles in order to achieve success. We give students opportunities to lead, to develop social skills, to become active in their communities, and to taste success. Don't settle for less than the absolute best for your life. Contact us today to take the next step in your journey toward success.
I lead a busy life, but I still have to make sure my family eats right. And everybody loves Dawn's Seasoning Delight. I use Dawn's on meats and vegetables. It's healthy, tastes great, and it's simple to use. It's like having a chef in a bottle.
My seasoning is available at Kroger, Bi-Lo, Food Line, Reeds, and Harvest. Look for it on display in the meat department. Also visit seasoningdelight.com for information and recipes. Dawn's Seasoning Delight. It's so good.
Does your child or grandchild need help in reading or math, or can benefit from preparatory coursework for the HSAP, ACT, or SAT? If so, contact the Barner Group Educational Associates. Our staff specializes in formatting an individualized approach to assisting your child academically. We offer low-cost tutorial services and educational programs. Participants may qualify for free services. To learn more, call for Alicia Cuthbertson of the Barner Group Educational Associates, 1-888-TBG-3996.
Welcome back inside of the broadcast. Today, I'm so thrilled. I'm elated, to use last week's word of the week, to have with us in the studio a gentleman who works for the Aiken County Public Schools. He works for children, he works for families, and that is the principal of Wagner Salley High School, Mr. Pat Keating. Welcome inside of Education Matters.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, we're so happy to have you. I love it when you come to school board meetings and you're on tap to make a presentation, or if you're giving an impromptu comment, because you're always so positive. You're never without a smile, even if you sometimes have to deliver some, not the best news, but lately you've been delivering some wonderful news about Wagner Salley High School. How does that feel to share that you're no longer on the AYP list, correct?
Well, we made AYP, two
right.
years ago. We haven't the last 2 years, but when you're a school of choice, it's very difficult to repeat at the high school level. But to come from being in a corrective action, which is where we were 4 years ago when I took the position, to be where we're at now, we're blessed. I have an incredible support system, my faculty and staff, of course the students, the families, in the community, we've all come together, and it's wonderful to be a part of that.
And you know, that's really what it's all about. When we're talking about educating our young people, and empowering is a word that you used before the broadcast went live. It does take a group effort. It takes the parents, it takes the students, it certainly takes the education system and those all involved working together. And today we will share with you how in this district we actually make a concerted effort to utilize data from standardized exams to help drive our instruction, to make our instruction individualized so that we can help each student and meet them where they are, and then help set a course for their progress. But before we do that, I want our viewers to know a little bit about you. We share something in common, and that is we are both alumni of, or we're an alumnus of Aiken High School.
Well, I actually didn't attend as a student, but
Oh, okay.
I was a teacher and
That's
a
good
coach.
enough.
I was a teacher and coach at Aiken High for about 102 years, literally 16, 17 years.
Okay.
It's where I became an educator,
All
and
right.
where I was taught to be an educator.
Well, good, good. Well, how long have you been principal at Wagner-Salem?
This is my 4th year.
Wow. So you've seen some changes.
Yes, ma'am.
You've seen, I guess, a group of students go from 9th grade to seniors.
My senior class is the class that we started all of our initiatives and programs with.
Well, help us out today. Why are standardized exams even important for us to have, and then also for our parents to understand why they're important?
Well, the accountability factor is number one, to make sure that what we're attempting to teach is being learned.
Okay.
Putting our children in a position to be successful once they leave the halls of our school the very last time, that they have the skills academically and otherwise to be successful, whether they go to a 4-year college, a technical school, or a junior college.
That's right.
Into the service, into the workforce, that they have the skills that they need, whether it be reading comprehension or the math skills that they need or otherwise, to be successful in whatever field or endeavor they go forward with.
Okay, and one of those exams, one of those tests that this district, and I'm sure others, really relies on is MAP, Measures of Academic Progress. Explain what MAP is, and then walk us through how your school and the district utilizes that data to help make our kids even better.
Well, I think it's important that we talk about the history of when MAP started. MAP is something that our district uses K through 9th grade. 4 years ago, when I became principal at Wagner-Salem, was the first year that our district used MAP in the 9th grade.
Okay.
What I love about MAP, it not only tells us what we're doing well as educators or as a school or as a district or as a system, but it also gives prescriptions, diagnostic reports to what our individual students are retaining, what they're learning, what they're weak on, what they're strong on, and it gives us a prescript going forward on where we're supposed to teach these children individually, and that's the whole key, that each child has his or her education individualized.
So you're telling me that we have 24,000 students in Aiken County Public Schools, and if these children were in our schools during the kindergarten through 9th grade, at some point in time, if they were in school during the time when the test started, they have had MAP tests, and we have data for them?
3 times a year.
3 times a year, all right?
The fall, the winter, and the spring testing. We just completed our spring testing at our school. We have our informal data already put forward. We're analyzing it and preparing towards those EOCs, and of course HSAP.
All right. Now, with the MAP data, do parents receive results of the MAP tests?
Well, they do, and in fact, at our school, we actually individualize in a lot of different ways. We have parent meetings. We require our freshman parents to come in at least 3 times a year, a lot of times more. We have a freshman academy at our school that's 4 years old that we started when we all came together as a team. We meet with those parents and give them a lot of different information, a lot of different pieces of data that are relevant towards their child's education. We also send letters home, a trifold package that explains the MAP data for their child and where they're at and where they need to do. We also give them prescriptions. We use a lot of web-based assessment tools such as USA Test Prep that we started using 4 years ago. Our district thought so highly of it that it actually bought it, so that every high school now utilizes USA Test Prep. Our district also utilizes a new program called Compass that gives us assessments or benchmarks in between those MAP test periods or before the EOC to see where we're at, if we're retaining what we learned, and where we need to go forward to prepare for those standardized tests that we'll hit in the spring or getting ready to meet the rubber with the road.
That's right. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have this broadcast is oftentimes if you do not have children in the public schools, you may not always know exactly what goes on behind the scenes or what your principals are charged with each day, their responsibilities, and teachers. As a principal, our principals, particularly in Aiken County, are viewed as the instructional leader of their schools. So this is why it's very appropriate for a principal of one of our schools to lead us through the discussion today. So let's go ahead and get started with your slide presentation.
Okay, and I'm going to go through this. There will be slides that I'll take more time on.
Sure.
But this is just the MAP overview of data at Widener-Salley High School within our freshman academy. Okay. One of the key pieces and why MAP is so important is study after study after study shows that 75%, if your child passes the 9th grade, that your child has a 75% better chance of graduating within the 4 years that he or she is in high school. So that initial success that freshman year is critical.
Yes,
MAP is an incredible tool, a data-driven tool that gives us the opportunity to see where corrections need to be made or accelerations need to be adjusted with your individual child.
All right.
And so what we do when we prepare for a MAP, our freshman academy team and supporting administration employ a variety of techniques to prepare for MAP and other standardized testing. We educate and inform not only our faculty and staff, but the students. Our students could tell you what their RIT band scores are and where their goals are in MAP. We have staff collaboration to make sure that we're adjusting any initiative for our class or for an individual student is appropriate. We also educate and inform our parents. Everything we do is data-driven, and we make sure that not only is it data-driven, but we have an assessment tool in place for any initiative that we put forward to make sure that that initiative is successful, or do we need to tweak it, or do we need to throw it away? And that is so important. And lastly, you never forget the external motivation of our students, whether it be a gift bag, gift cards, a barbecue or cookout for success and recognition for hard work. It's always important.
And it's great to celebrate, especially you know, when it's encouraging them to do positive things with their life. Now, do teachers, I know that when we're talking about change agents, which in a lot of cases our teachers have to buy into change and buy into a process. Do teachers have a choice of whether or not to use MAP data for their students?
No, they're not supposed to. And in my school, I could...
Yay! Okay.
I could assure you at our school, not only do our teachers not have a choice, but it is their choice and their conviction that they utilize any piece of data that is going to assist a child in his or her education. We are as a district data driven. We are told that repeatedly over and over again. It is so important because numbers just don't lie. It tells a story and it gives you a roadmap of where you're at, where you're going, and what needs to be done.
Right. and you've been able to share some quite some good news with how MAP data is helping your students and your entire school to improve with regard to student achievement, which of course is our #1 goal in Aiken County. All right, let's continue.
Well, it's so important that when you're gathering data, it's relevant in nature, that you are utilizing data that's going to assist your kids. We start with 8th grade. We get the 8th grade data that we feel is important. First off, our district provides us with a red flag list of kids, a group of individuals that will be attending your school that are at risk for a variety of reasons. And that is very helpful because we identify these children right away before they even step foot in our halls. We look at the 8th grade MAP data to see where their weaknesses and strengths are as a class and as individuals. Lexile scores. Lexile, for those of you that don't know, is reading comprehension. Regardless of what you're doing in high school or any other level, comprehension skills are essential for success. If you can't read and you can't write,
That's right.
especially the expository writing that they're expected to do, you're not going to have success. So that is very, very key. Discipline patterns or behavior patterns, seeing where our children are or what their issues are before they step in our halls, so we can put initiatives and remediations in place or interventions in place to make sure that that child is successful. And also we look at our social promotions, because in the 8th grade sometimes we get those kids for one reason or another that are promoted socially that are overage, to make sure we make the appropriate accommodations so future success is there.
Let's spend just a little moment on the social promotions, because oftentimes as a school board member, I am asked the direct question, and you may be as well, why do we have students that are promoted to the next grade level if we know they're not prepared or they're not ready or they're lacking in some way? As a high school principal, and particularly since you end up seeing some of those students who we may have lost in the earlier years, but they make a decision to drop out in the 9th grade, why does that happen?
Well, I think there's a variety of reasons. Over 23 years in the education business, you've seen our society change in so many different and dramatic ways. But I do believe there becomes a point in time where change is necessary to induce achievement, to induce something positive in that child's life. They may be in a rut that it's no one's fault at that point in time, but a change of venue, a change of message, a change of intervention is needed. And there's been several times where I have asked to have a student, because I've had a conversation with a parent of someone that has struggled at the middle school level, and we feel that we may have the tools necessary for that child to be successful.
Okay, all right, good. So we can go ahead.
It's a very gray answer.
Yeah,
it really is.
But actually, it was not so gray, because it is the truth. And I do get that question off quite a bit. And I do like the way you answered that, because
and
it's
I
a
did
real
answer
scenario.
as Pat Keating. I did not answer for anybody but Pat Keating. That is my opinion personally.
All right, very good. Very good. You hear that, Dr. Everett? Okay, what's next?
Well, and I've just got some examples and snippets of some of the different types of data that we utilize as the 8th graders coming in. This is just a snippet of the red flag list that we get. And it gives us some information about a child as they come in.
Now you're going to have to describe that just a little bit, because it's difficult for our viewers to see.
Okay, well, it tells us if they're on the free and reduced, if they're a free and reduced population, which what that means is that child comes from a poverty background. It tells us ethnicity. It tells us if they have any type of disability, whether it be a learning disability or otherwise. It gives us that type of information, along with maps. Map data, spring and fall. It gives us days absence, because truancy is an issue at every level, and it gives us that type of data.
Now, with the MAP test, is this the type of test where a child can study for, or parents can help their child study for, or is it basically an assessment of what that child knows up to that point?
That's a great question, and it depends on how you use it.
Well, thank you for saying that.
It's not, if you have a MAP spring test and you're working on language, and that test is tomorrow, no, you cannot study for it.
Okay.
But the prep work that goes along with it for weeks and months in advance, yes, you can. We have, like I said, all of our students have an ID number. They can utilize USA Test Prep from home on their own internet or computers, where they could practice. They know exactly where they're supposed to be and what skills they're supposed to be attaining or working on or working towards to get where they need to be.
So it makes coming to school every day, paying attention during class, not having discipline problems that then removes a child from a class, it makes all of those things very relevant, because obviously if that child is in school and they're participating and they're learning, then of course it's going to increase their chances that they'll do well on the map.
Absolutely, and we need family support.
All right, I want you to put a pin right there, because that's an excellent segue into our next segment. After a few words from our sponsors, we'll come back and show you a map report so that you can understand exactly how we do take that data and help drive instruction. We'll talk about parental support, and then also later on in the broadcast, we'll talk about the upcoming HSAP exam and the end of course exams. Don't change that dial. We'll be right back.
When it comes to grilling, I'm the man. Using Don Seasoning Delight, I'm the grill master.
My seasoning is available at Kroger, Buy Low, Food Line Reeds and Harvest. Look for it on display in the meat department. Also visit seasoningdelight.com for information and recipes. Don Seasoning Delight. It's so good.
Don Seasoning Delight is so good.
Need positive and constructive after-school activities for your children? Call the Martial Arts Academy in Aiken under the direction of International Olympic trainer Andrew Blocker. The Martial Arts Academy offers an award-winning approach to teaching Taekwondo. It's an effective approach to instilling discipline. The Martial Arts Academy also offers self-defense and fitness classes for all ages. Enroll today in this affordable program by calling 803-642-5723 or visit the studio at 2398 Whiskey Road in Aiken. The Martial Arts Academy, positively changing the lives of youth and adults.
Hi, my name is Donna Moore Westby, host of Education Matters here on ASTV. Next time on Education Matters, it'll be spring break week. So what we're going to do is give our staff a vacation, very much needed, and we will rebroadcast the current week's episode of Education Matters so that we can prepare our young people for their HSAP and end of course exams. That's next time, Education Matters with Donna Moore Westby, right here on ASTV, Channel 95.
If you are calling from a touch-tone phone.
Tired of hearing automated answering services when you have questions about auto, home, renters, motorcycle, or life insurance? Call the Bryant Insurance Agency, where you will always receive a representative ready to answer your questions and provide friendly customer service just for you. Call today for a quick quote at 803-642-8505 or visit us at 909 Daughtery Road in Aiken. Takia and her staff are ready to serve you.
If you are interested in becoming an individual or corporate sponsor of Education Matters or to receive sponsorship information, call Donna Moore Wesby at 803-507-6793 or send an email to dwesby@edmath.com.
Welcome back. If you're interested in participating in this conversation by submitting a question, or if you'd like to just make a comment, the phone line is open, 803-644-2357, or you may text in a question to 803-507-6793. I'd like to give shouts out to my sister, Miss Tiffany Moore Palmer, who gave me the idea about having this particular broadcast, because the HSAP exams are right around the corner. I believe it's the second or third week of April. Mr. Pat Keating, my guest here today, will help me out on that. And then, of course, end of course exams are also right around the corner. So feel free to give us a call, again, 644-2357, or text 803-507-6793. All right, Mr. Keating, take it away.
Well, first off, HSAP is 2 weeks after spring break, the 17th through the 19th of April, and EOC start in May, the 14th through the 17th.
All right.
So there you go.
There you go, and we'll come back to those in the last block of the broadcast.
Well, one thing, and I think I failed to mention it, the reason MAP is so important, not only for driving instruction and making sure learning is taking place, success in MAP, there's a direct correlation with success in MAP on the MAP assessment, also with EOCs, and also HSAP. So there's a direct correlation to success, and that's why MAP is so important, because it gives us individualized information about each child and where they are and where they need to be.
Okay.
So that's very important.
All right.
This slide that I have getting ready to come up right here is just a snippet. It gives you information of different scores, and as you read across, obviously the names are off on the far left, but it gives you an idea where their spring scores are in both math, in all three, math, reading, and language. It also gives us their Lexile levels. And it gives you at the bottom of the screen, it tells you where the mean is for each score, so you can see where your students are and where they should be.
So the three topics that a student, the subjects I should say, that a student is tested on are math, language arts, and reading.
And reading. And those really correlate to success in every other endeavor that you're going to find in school. You have to be able to read and comprehend what you read. You have to be able to write successfully, and you have to have math skills that are appropriate for the level.
All right, good.
Fall MAP testing. When we take the test in the fall, as you remember, we take it 3 times. The NWEA, which is the national site that gives us our goal setting sheets, establish individual student target RIT scores. They determine individual student strength, weaknesses by the strand or standards that are put forth by the State Department of Education. We at Wagner-Salley High School, in order to make sure our students have success, we have developed a 30-minute block for every student on our campus, which is after second period, a 30-minute block. And we split our kids, and we have goals for every class, whether it be a freshman or a senior. We call it our pull-out class. Students are grouped according to individual remediation or acceleration needs. Students with below grade level Lexile scores are placed in reading remediation pull-outs as well.
Now, does this process get to the scenario where typically you'll have a teacher that has students of all different levels of learning, but with this particular, with the pull-outs, all of the students are on the same level? So
correct, with the same needs, with the same needs. So that's why that data is so important to have, so we can make sure that the instruction is appropriate for each grouping.
Excellent.
And this is just an example for the freshman academy. We have them in color teams, a green team, blue team, gold team, and red team. Based on the strands, the students are grouped into teams according to those individual remediation needs. Staff collaboration is so key. Our freshman academy staff is informed on their MAP testing procedures, expectations, and progress on a regular basis. Our academy has weekly collaboration meetings. They have a common planning period to discuss data, strategies, and progress. And that's not only for the class, the 9th grade class, but also the individual students, because they each have those individual students.
That's wonderful.
We have so many district specialists that come in and help us from Brookhaven. They do just a wonderful job at assisting us. And we are always updating our spreadsheet reports, comparing student fall and winter data, areas of weakness, and plans for mediation. And we create our own benchmarks through programs such as USA Test Prep and Compass. So we're always benchmarking our children to see where their progress is taking place and where their weaknesses are still in play.
And I think that's wonderful that each student knows what his or her goals are.
Absolutely.
Because every child I've ever met, no matter how many discipline problems they had, deep down inside, they want to succeed.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
They really do.
We actually have a huge bulletin board in our academy. Each student has an ID number. We don't put their names up, and it shows where they're at and what their goals are. We also buy keychains that go home with goals for each individual student. With each individual student, we give them to the parents.
Wow.
So they have them on their keychain, and also the websites where they can access at home in order to get that information and also to work on programs such as USA Test Prep or Compass.
Wonderful.
After the winter testing, the second set of testing, we disaggregate the data with in-house reports on percentage of students meeting the target RIT scores. We have the average growth of mean scores from the fall to winter. In other words, what is our progress? We still look for the areas of weakness identified as an individual or a class, and then we inform and educate the parents and the community at large where we're at.
Now, are you finding that the parents are truly understanding the value of these exams and are participating in helping their student to be prepared for these exams and then understanding the results afterward?
What I believe is that we've become better at informing the parents.
Okay.
And yes, the answer is yes. We've seen it increase each and every year, but in reality, what has happened is we've gotten better as a school and as educators on how to inform our parents and what they need in order to assist their children.
Right. That's usually the key. Oftentimes people want to, it's very easy to blame somebody else. Well, those parents just aren't coming, or those parents just don't care. Well, that's not always the case. We've got to be willing to be more creative with our approach in helping our parents and communicating with them because they want their children to succeed as well.
Absolutely.
All right.
And this is a few of the things that we do to get that information out. We educate and inform both the students and parents on how to understand and utilize the MAP scores to track improvements and meet their spring goal. We have student conferences. We do that both with the Freshman Academy teachers, but also I meet with individual students. I meet with every single freshman between the winter and spring. Phone calls home to parents. Of course, we have the conferences with parents as well. And students who made an improvement received a candy bag and recognition through announcements and other ways. And that external motivation does work, believe it or not, just a little old candy bag.
Even for high school students?
Absolutely.
My goodness.
Absolutely.
All right.
This is an example of what we send home to parents.
Yes,
and it gives us detailed information on not only where they're at, but how to utilize what we are able to give them through these programs such as USA Test Prep to get the resources they need to assist their children. And again, this goes along with that trifold. It gives them their score, where their weaknesses are, and what their target score is by spring.
Now, okay, so ultimately, when a child gets their scores, it is a remediation plan is put in place to help prepare them for that next test.
And it could also be an acceleration plan. We have those gifted and talented students that need more.
Right.
And so we want to individualize both ways.
And as a matter of fact, I think it's also important to point out that even if your child is on a remediation plan, it doesn't mean that your child is not capable or that there's a serious problem. My son was in gifted and talented, and we had a remediation plan for social studies for him. So
and I think that's very, very important to understand, that it doesn't mean that your child may lack the skills. It just means they don't have the background right now, and that's what we're trying to provide.
All right, good.
Another thing we do, we have refrigerator slips that are sent home to all parents, magnets. It has the website with all the things. For instance, we post all of our lesson plans, our standards, our homeworks, and our Freshman Academy handbook that they could utilize and go through to see how our academy works. And at the bottom, it gives the websites and the username and password so they could get on and you work with their child, or their child could work alone on USA Test Prep.
Now, your school is Wagner Sally, a rural area. What measures are in place to help those families who do not have computers at their homes?
Excellent question. We're fortunate enough, and it was actually very difficult for a while. We actually have one of our labs that's open till 6 o'clock, one of our computer labs, three times a week. And we have after school tutorials through different avenues that we have. Teachers that are compensated through grants and otherwise that stay on our campus till 5 o'clock 3 times a week. And our library has been very, very generous, allow us to use their computers to utilize some of these internet resources.
All right. Now, in a nutshell, what can you say to help wrap up the discussion about MAP, to help our students understand their value as well as our parents?
The best thing about MAP, it gives us a detailed overview of where your child is at academically, and it gives us a detailed assessment and roadmap to where we need to go in order for your child to be successful. And I can't tell you the advantages to that and how wonderful MAP is as a tool for us.
Definitely. And it is more than just sending your child to school and, what did you learn today? There is a method to the madness, so to speak, all right? And I want you to know that when your child goes to school, there are people who care. There are people who want your child to succeed. And we have a tool called MAP that is helping us to make sure your child gets the attention he or she needs. So when you look on your school calendar and you see the dates for MAP testing 3 times a year, make sure your child is well rested, make sure your child understands what's at stake, and make sure you understand the process, and then ask for those results, because there'll be opportunities for you to help your child succeed as well. All right, we'll be right back and we'll talk about HSAP and EOC. We'll be right back.
The Will Gray Opportunity School has been serving the beautiful Midlands of South Carolina since 1921. Our mission has evolved over the years, and we now specialize in helping young people move past their obstacles in order to achieve success. We give students opportunities to lead, to develop social skills, to become active in their communities, and to taste success. Don't settle for less than the absolute best for your life. Contact us today to take the next step in your journey toward success.
Does your child or grandchild need help in reading or math, or can benefit from preparatory coursework for the HSAP, ACT, or SAT? If so, contact the Barner Group Educational Associates. Our staff specializes in formatting an individualized approach to assisting your child academically. We offer low-cost tutorial services and educational programs. Participants may qualify for free services. To learn more, call for Alicia Cuthbertson of the Barner Group Educational Associates, 1-888-TBG-3996.
Welcome back inside of the broadcast. We hope you have learned something in listening to the first segment where we talk about MAP. Now we're going to talk about HSAP. And I've done a little research, so I'm going to try to sound intelligent. Again, if you'd like to ask a question, feel free to give us a call on 803-644-2357, or you may text in your question to 803-507-6793. There is no dumb question, all right? Education matters. Mr. Pat Keating, principal of Wagner Salley High School, please explain to us, what are HSAP tests?
Right. HSAP is a test that all students in public schools in the state of South Carolina must take their sophomore year. And they must be successful on HSAP within the 4 years they're in high school in order to graduate. Another term that's used for HSAP is the exit exam. And it's just that. You could be successful and you could pass every single course and the requirements that the state puts forth as far as credit hours and credit courses within the 4 years you're in a student is in high school. But if that student does not pass HSAP, which is English and math over a 3-day period, 2 days of English and 1 day of math, if that student isn't successful within the 4 years that he or she is in high school, they will not receive a diploma from the state of South Carolina.
Wow. They will not receive a diploma. So I've pulled some information that I'd like to share. Now with HSAP, this is a federal requirement, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so the only way we can not give the HSAP exam is if at the federal level the law, I guess, is removed.
Correct.
Okay, so families, we need for you to understand that this test is extremely important. And you mentioned earlier that the data we receive from our MAP test also takes into account with HSAP.
We have seen a direct correlation with success in the 9th grade with MAP, and then their sophomore year with the HSAP or exit exam. There is a direct correlation of success. So if a student is successful on MAP and hits the state and national mean levels by their spring test, that they should be successful on HSAP. And we've seen that over and over through the numbers and the data that we've gathered.
So, and I would hate for this to happen. So if a child has not passed HSAP by the last time they can take it as a
Spring
senior,
of their senior year,
what happens?
Well, our district actually provides one last avenue, and that is that we have at the Burn Learning Center, which is now is our adult ed within our district, there is a remediation class that takes place over the first part of summer for those students that for one reason or another did not pass HSAP. And it allows them to work on just the portions that student may have had issues with. So they still have an opportunity in that summer session at Bird Learning to pass the HSAP. They'll take it later in the summer, and then they can and will receive their high school graduation if they have all their credits in place.
Okay, same question that I asked a moment ago with regard to MAP tests. The HSAP measures their proficiency on English, language arts, and math. If a child does not meet, say this particular child does not pass in their sophomore year, or that they pass one portion in their sophomore year and not the next portion or the math, how many different opportunities, again, does that child get to pass that portion?
Well, that's a great question. Like you said, the first time you take it is in the spring of child's sophomore year, and that's coming up very quickly. It'll be the April 17th through the 19th, 2 weeks after spring break. If that child fails either a portion of it or the entire assessment, you have 4 more times to take it. In the fall of his or her junior year, in the spring of his or her junior year, and again the fall of the senior and the spring of the senior year as well.
Okay, and that same question that I asked before with the MAP is this the type of test where a child can study for, or it's an assessment of where they are?
It is absolutely an assessment where they are, and study is a term where I guess we're studying for it.
Every day.
Every day. And we actually have, if I mentioned earlier, we have that 30-minute block of time built into our schedule, and we split our kids up according to what their needs may be. Our 9th grade class are working diligently on English 1 and Algebra 1 EOC that's coming up. Our sophomore class is working specifically towards HSAP success. But then those students who have struggles and did not pass that HSAP the first time, we have an HSAP repeater class that we actually have 4 teachers that are with. Right now we have 4 teachers we have less than a dozen kids. And those 4 teachers are working with those kids 5 days a week.
That's good.
30 minutes at a time, along with their own classroom teachers that are working with them each day within their class structure as well.
Okay. And in case you're wondering, I do have statistics for the 2011 HSAP results for Aiken County, and we're very proud, and I say that with mixed emotions, because any child, if we're not 100%, then that's a child who did not pass, but almost 9 out of 10 passed the English language arts portion of the test, and that was 89.4%, and then 81.2% passed the math portion. As I looked further at the data, Mr. Keating, I noticed that there are still some discrepancies and a gap between African American students and white students on these exams. For example, and this is specific to Aiken County, make sure, yes, we get our results here. For the African American students, for English, the pass rate was 84.9%, and then for our white students, 92.5%, And then for our Hispanic students, 88.2%, and again, that was for English. And then for math is very tough, it seems. We've got some work here. In Aiken County, black students, only 67.2% passing, and for our white students, 89.4%, and then our Hispanic students, 83.1%. What's happening here?
That's a great question. I don't think there's one answer for what's taking place. It could be a variety of different things, everything from outside learning experiences to the way we instruct, the way that we instruct our students. And I think it's so important to go back to a point I made earlier, to individualize the instruction.
Right.
You can't do the group lecture, the group instruction. You have to find a variety of means, because every child learns differently. And that's so important. And in public education, that's a relatively new concept within the last 20 or 30 or maybe 40 years. But in the grand scheme of things, it's a very new concept to individualize the teacher becoming a facilitator and finding the means available to reach that child on an individual basis.
Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Keating. You're a high school principal. By the time a child is in high school, is it in reality too late to make a change, to make a difference? Absolutely not.
And our philosophy, and I'll plain speak it, we can't control what happens outside our brick walls. We can't control a home environment, what's taking place at another school or another place, or what's going on outside our brick building. Our job is to put our children in a position to be successful once they leave our building.
Yes.
And that's what we do, and that's what we have to do. We can't take excuses or what ifs or what's happened in the past. Is it harder to move a child the older they get? I will answer honestly, I believe so.
Yeah.
If you look at testing data, it's much easier to move a second grader that reads on or a third grader that is comprehending or reading on a first grade level to age appropriate by the time they get through with that third grade year.
Right.
Whereas if we have a ninth grader who is at a sixth or fifth grade level and move them up to an appropriate level within that year, age is a factor, but it's not impossible. We do it every year. We may not be able to move them to the appropriate level in that single year, but what we can do is we can make enough progress, whereas by the time they graduate from high school, or they are in a position to be graduating from high school, and that's why that HSAP repeater course is so important.
Right, that's good. And in case you're wondering, parents, there are 4 achievement levels for the HSAP exam. A 1 has not demonstrated competency. A 2, which is the passing standard in South Carolina, has competence. 3, proficiency. And then 4, demonstrated exceptional command of skills and knowledge. If you would like more specific information for the state of South Carolina, and it even breaks it down to the individual counties within South Carolina, just go to my website, edmat.com. Click on the link, South Carolina Department of Education, and then type in the search bar HSAP, HSAP, and there at the click of a button, you'll have access to all that information. All right, Mr. Keating, let's talk about end-of-course exams. What are they?
End-of-course exams are state exams. The federal government has a law that we must assess our students on an annual basis on 2 portions, math and English. And in our state, we end-of-course test to Algebra 1 and English 1. We do have a portion of high school students who actually take those 2 tests as 8th graders. Your gifted and talented populations actually will take English 1 and Algebra 1 in the 8th grade. And when they come to high school, they'll be taking geometry and English 2. But a large portion of your children in the freshman class will be taking English 1 and Algebra 1. Our state has decided to also test social studies and science.
Okay.
In years past, we've always tested physical science.
Right.
This past year, our state moved towards biology. This year, we'll be testing on an end-of-course exam Biology 1 for the first time by itself as a separate entity. And lastly, as juniors, our juniors are tested on social The EOCs, or end of course exams, are state assessed. They're given to us. We don't have or prior knowledge to what's on them as far as a particular test. And they're also assessed by the State Department, and it counts as 20% of a student's final grade.
Yes, I don't like that.
I don't either. There's a lot of things about the EOC that I would like to change, and I'm so excited about our state going towards Common Core, because it's going to give us a better perspective. The difficult challenge with EOCs is that we get a raw score. In other words, Pat Keating got a 78 on his English 1 EOC, but that's all it gives. I don't know what I did well in. I don't know what I did poorly in. I don't know what the teachers may have were successful with teaching standard-wise or less successful teaching standard-wise. There's no diagnostic approach to try to remediate what we do. Right. And so what we do to combat that is two programs, Compass, that are district by, and of course USA Test Prep, that are geared towards EOC. We use them to benchmark during the year.
All right, and again, the dates for the EOC?
The EOCs are in May 14th through the 17th.
All right, parents, make sure your children are ready and again well rested and have a great breakfast. Students, talk with your school. You know, your teachers are aware of these exams, your counselors are aware. Make sure you do what you need to do so that you can be prepared to take the next step in your life. And real quickly, in 1 minute that I have left, I need to talk about discipline. Parents, more and more, and it's very disheartening to me, we are seeing at the school board level too many of our students, as early as middle school and definitely through high school, getting put up for expulsion for having marijuana. They either have possession of it, they're either under the influence of it, or they're trying to sell it. Look, this is an offense that will get you expelled from school. Mr. Keating, I know you're dealing with this from the high school level, but we are seeing high school seniors being put up for expulsion because of marijuana. Parents, talk to your children. Children, if you're watching today, stop it. There are children in your class, in your grade that you know who are getting expelled. That is a very difficult pill to swallow, to go 11, 12 years to then have it all come to a halt in such a way, all right? Talk to your kids, all right? Again, Mr. Keating, thanks so much for being with us today. Thanks for sharing the valuable information. It is our prayer, parents, that you will take advantage of the information. Feel free to check out our website, edmet.com. There you'll also see the Aiken County Public School District's website, where you can get additional details, including dates of these exams as well as our results, all right? Special thanks to all of you who called or emailed me for our anniversary segment. I'm still on a high, all right? Enjoy your spring break week, and until next time, my name is Donna Moore Westby, your host of Education Matters, where we're connecting you to the world of education one step at a time. Have a great day.
If you are interested in becoming an individual or corporate sponsor of Education Matters or to receive sponsorship information, call Donna Moore Wesby at 803-507-6793 or send an email to dwesby@edmath.com.